So, to give you a heads up, before I talk about Pirates of the Caribbean 5, Dead Men Tell No Tales, let's talk about this live-action Disney film that was done by director Gore Verbinski, who directed Curse of the Black Pearl, Dead Man's Chest, and At World's End, basically the first three Pirates of the Caribbean movies. This is The Lone Ranger. This film came out the exact same year as Monsters University and Unfrozen. And what this is basically what the director wanted to do is that, well, back in 2011 or 2010, he directed an animated film from Nickelodeon Movies called Rango. And I thought that was kind of a bland film. Honestly, I don't hate it. I just didn't like it. But it wasn't awful. But of course, it was a big hit. It was actually the first Nickelodeon movie to be awarded for an Oscar for Best Animated Feature. So, I guess Gore Verbinski wants to direct another Western movie, but this time from Disney, and add in some charm, and try to add in some comedy, and on some action scenes we've seen from the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. But what I heard, this one really didn't do very well. Not only by critics and audiences, but the box office performance was very bad. It had a $250 million budget. It came back with $260.5 million worldwide. So, a lot of people really did not like this movie. They hated it. Alright, so, does it deserve the hate? Not really. I mean, it's bad. It's a bad movie. It's definitely a bad film. Because it's very flawed. But, I'd be lying if I said there are some parts I actually liked. There are some things that are actually pretty good. So, the film opens up with and a little museum with an Indian named Tonto, played by Johnny Depp. He tells a little boy that he went on adventures with the Lone Ranger. Where the Lone Ranger named John Reed, played by Armie Hammer, he is basically a famous lawman, and his brother was I think he was a famous lawyer, I think. Yeah, he was a famous lawyer, and his brother was a famous lawman. Like a famous sheriff. But later on, they basically get ambushed by a guy, or by one of the villains, played by William Fichtner. William Fichtner, and there's this really disturbing part of the movie where William Fichtner's character Butch friggin' eats the heart out of on John Reed's brother. His brother is played by James Badge Dale. And then his character gets killed off, and then Tonto brings him back to life, and then he wants to get revenge on his brother, for his brother that killed him. Well, who killed his brother? You know, it's kind of like the who killed a certain family member's thing, like in Roger Rabbit. They basically set off course to find out all the mystery and stuff and what's going on. Much like Pirates of the Caribbean 3, this one is just as complicated. And it really does not make any sense. And it also suffers that problem like Home on the Range did. But it's not but this one is just a bad film. At least with Home on the Range, at least I was entertained by it, and at least I enjoyed a lot of the characters. And even though the story itself was so badly phoned in. But thanks to some of the jokes and the animation and the characters, I at least thought it was okay. The story is very phoned in and complicated. And I just didn't care. I just want to see, a cowboy movie a Western movie that's trying to be like the Pirates of the Caribbean in the Old West. But some parts were like that, I will admit. Like how Johnny Depp is, acting like Jack Sparrow, as an Indian and stuff. I actually think he was very enjoyable. His character was really enjoyable. That's the biggest praise I gotta give to this film. Two of the main characters of this film are actually pretty enjoyable. But then when it just goes to the villains and the love interests and the other characters, they're so boring. Not a single character was... aside for the two main characters that are very likable, none of the other ones are good. They're terribly written. And they feel incredibly one-dimensional. At least for the two main characters, their friendship is actually pretty good, and it grows, and it gets a little bit strong. I actually do want to root for these characters. But But honestly, I just don't know what to say about these other characters. I think the only other side character that's at least kind of enjoyably cute was Helena Bonham Carter as this lady that has a prosthetic leg. Well, this wooden leg. They show like a backstory. Well, they don't necessarily show a backstory. They show a painting on the wall, and then you get the gist of what happened. She was a famous ballet dancer and stuff. Well, then I'm like, that's a very clever idea. That was actually kind of clever. Instead of just like going off of an actual backstory or something, just show something. Well, that's kind of one of my problems with Minions. Once that Illumination film with those cute little yellow creatures, but yeah, everything else bland. But I'll get to the good stuff right now. Like I said, two main characters, very likable. Some of the comedy does feel like you're watching Pirates of the Caribbean in the Old West, in a good way. Like, some of the visuals are pretty nice, and some of the shots of the Grand Canyon and the Old West and stuff is very nice, and the sets are really neat too. And and the big climax of the film was actually the best part of the movie. The climax where they're chasing down the train and then there's a lot of shooting going on and stuff. It's really incredible. The only criticism I have with the visuals is that once in a while it actually does seem like it's pretty fake. And it really pisses me off like that. But so yeah, overall, I do think this is one of my least favorites. It's not a horrible film. It's just ultimately bland. It's just very bland and forgettable. Well, with one or two good scenes and stuff. And a couple of likable characters. So, I guess if you are looking for a film that tries to be like Pirates of the Caribbean in the Old West, I guess you're not gonna like this one. But if you just want to see a Western movie just to see a Western movie, maybe you'll like this, but I do recommend you to just skip this one. You're not really missing much. But if you have seen it, what did you think about it? Just comment below, follow me on Twitter and Facebook, and follow me on Stardust. Don't forget to subscribe. And I am the Bostonian Critic, and I will see you in a little bit. Take care.